To review what we ended with yesterday, we ended talking about ribosomes, which are small organelles that make proteins based on instructions from the nucleus. Also, the endoplasmic reticulum, the rough ER has ribosomes, remember R and R. The smooth ER does not have ribosomes and does specialized tasks. So moving on, the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi body, what it does is it takes those proteins that have been made by the ribosomes and it modifies them, sorts them, and kind of starts to tell them where to go. This relates to the customization part of a factory, where the finishing touches are put on different items before they leave the factory or are shipped to their final destinations, either inside the cell or outside to other cells. So here's why these proteins are important. Because you're sitting there and you're kind of like, proteins, yay. Super important to us. Number one, they serve to replicate and produce valuable things for the cell structure. Helps to build the framework for your body. It's in almost everything in your body. Helps the body digest food as an enzyme. And what an enzyme is a catalyst, and it kind of gets things started a little bit quicker. Tells your body when to use food as energy and when to store it as fat. Transports oxygen through the blood to your muscles and organs, and also helps to protect the body from illness when infection hits. So these proteins are mucho necessary for the survival of our bodies. The path of proteins through a cell, this would be super important for you to highlight, starts in the nucleolus. If you remember, that's a dense region within the nucleus. Those instructions go to the ribosomes. The ribosomes make those proteins, goes through that rough ER. Golgi apparatus or Golgi body puts the finishing touches to make sure they're ready to go. Then they're shipped out to their final destinations. A couple other different ones. For terms of this class, lysosomes are only going to be found in animal cells, and you saw pictures of those in the videos from yesterday. Vacuoles, animal cells do have vacuoles, but for the scope of this class, we're going to focus on plant cells for vacuoles. So what lysosomes are, they're kind of the cleanup crew of the cell. Gets rid of all the crap in the cell, junk if you prefer that. Vacuoles are storage. And if you look in the plant cell, they talked about this yesterday. This is called a central vacuole, and what it's used is a storage unit for storing food, water, or waste, and generally it's support. So when a plant has enough water, this central vacuole is nice and full, and all of these plant cells help support and keep this plant upright. When a plant doesn't have enough water, if you look at this central vacuole here, it's super duper small, and this plant ends up wilting, bending over. Animal cells do have vacuoles. They're super small, but it is the same function. They do store materials in a cell. Mitochondria, they are going to kind of be bean-like structures, and they take chemical energy and convert it into energy the cell can use. So it's kind of the powerhouse of the cell. It's related to the power company the factory is hooked up to. Chloroplasts and cell walls are only in plants. That's super important for you to know. Chloroplasts we've talked about multiple times. These are organelles that capture the energy from sunlight, convert it into energy that the plant can use through photosynthesis. And then the cell wall is that rigid structure on the outside of the cell that helps support the cell and keep everything in place. And it's made out of something called cellulose, which is a nice rigid structure. Centrioles are only found in animal cells, and they help organize cell division located near the nucleus. And in a couple chapters, you're going to hear me refer to these again when we talk about mitosis and meiosis. This review video you don't have to watch. I've shown you a couple other videos I would rather have you watch instead. So what you will be doing for the rest of the hour, because you should have all of your notes done now, is kind of starting your research for this cell analogy project, and I'll show you that packet here in a second that the sub will pass out. Just to explain this a little bit more, you have to describe or decide on a broad theme for your cell to create analogies. And what a lot of kids do, to be perfectly honest with you, is they research online cell analogies and kind of go from there. Um, the cooler ones that I've gotten are the ones that kids haven't researched and looked up online. It's ones that they've come up with. So it's just kind of, I guess, how much work you want to put into it. What you're going to do, decide on a broad theme, such as, like I said, a very popular one I get is a football team. And you're going to either draw the cell with all of the organelles labeled, or you can draw your analogy. So in that case, you might draw a football field with all the different parts that you're going to label and explain. For each organelle you're assigned, you have to provide the following. You have to label it, and that must be on that computer paper where you draw your analogy or the cell. And then the function and the analogy may be on a separate paper. So you would tell me the nucleus is the brain of the cell, and this is like the football coach because the football coach is also the head of the team or something like that. You can't just say it's like the football coach and not make the analogy tell me why. You will want to color this. That's going to be points. So that's kind of a basic explanation. I do have examples to show you guys on Monday. A key part here is that males will do a plant cell and females will do an animal cell. All right. This is the grading sheet that I will use to grade your project. If you are a male, you will be doing all of the organelles on this list. If you are a female, you can cross off the cell wall and the chloroplast because those are only found in plant cells. So your grade will be adjusted a little bit more because you have to do less organelles. This packet right here is going to help you guys with your research towards the information you need for the project. So you'll fill out if this is found in a plant or an animal cell, or maybe both. And to be perfectly honest, most of them are going to be both. The function in the cell, because that's something else you have to do on your project. And then this starts talking about your analogy. So in this case, if you were doing that football team, you would put football coach here. As you work your way down, this takes you through most of the organelles. I don't think it takes you through all of them on that worksheet, so some of them you will have to do on your own. I will not be collecting this packet. This is something to help you get started on your project. So it is expected that you work on this today, and you'll have a little bit of time next week to work on it too. So that's what the rest of the hour is for, especially since lecture wasn't very long. You need to remember that your preview packet is due today, so make sure that it gets in the crate. I'm going to do a lot of grading this weekend, hopefully, and get sorts of caught up. I will be back on Monday. I know it's been a long week. So hopefully we can get a lot done next week and get you guys ready for term assessments. So have a good rest of your day.